you making a difference in the infrastructure industry?
We are focused on economic impact.
Well, what's your name first, for the record?
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we've been rolling. Yeah, I've eased you into this.
Business Transformation Group,
BTG.
BTG. Yep.
All right, so BTG, Business Transformation Group. It's a pretty sexy name. What do you do?
Well, I like to say we connect infrastructure to impact.
Okay, how?
So when there's these billion-dollar, mega projects going on in a community, we like to try and one, do what we can to have an impact on how it affects the community. More importantly, we like to track the data of how throughout the project lifecycle communities are impacted, whether that's the outreach, letting small businesses know that there's a project coming, doing the work to give them technical assistance so that we can build the capacity that's needed for the project to deliver the work, and all the way down to job seekers and the workforce in that community, making sure that they have the capabilities needed to do the work and deliver the project, and track that economic impact through the life cycle all the way to closeout, and see how did the community from an economic perspective in real time benefit from the project, and also in the future from the skills that were gained.
Is it hard to collect that data, or is it pretty readily available?
It it's kind of a spectrum. It can be easy if the right tools and people are in place, especially early on. If we join a project midstream, it can be a little bit trickier, depending on the tools that the owner or the prime contractor are using to collect the data. Sometimes we have to try and connect to that. Sometimes we use our own software systems to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends, but there's always a solution.
Have you had some good conversations during the conference with people about this subject?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit tricky in this environment. I feel like there has been a bit of a excursion and step back from focusing on these sorts of things, the community benefit aspect of these projects. But I think it's an education thing, because once you have the conversation, sometimes people just aren't thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of communities, especially more urban communities in big cities, are hesitant about these large projects going on in their
Why?
backyards.
Why are they hesitant? Isn't infrastructure good? Isn't progress great?
It can be, and ultimately they might benefit, and it could be a lot of things. It could be, they don't want to deal with the noise of the construction.
Mm.
They don't want to deal with any sort of closures of the roads. Sometimes it's that they think, oh, this is, a private corporation from somewhere we don't know coming in, and they're going to do all the work. And maybe I'm a small business and I, pave roads, and I'm nervous about the fact that they're going to do this massive project and forget about me. I'm not sure about the information for how I can potentially join the project. I don't feel like I'm being communicated to. So if you're able to do those things and really connect with the community on that level, and let them know that there is a certain amount of economic benefit that they're going to get from the project as well, even though it is a public-private partnership, then that, I think, smooths the conversation over quite a bit.
So you really take a proactive role in stakeholder management then.
Yeah, and we do it from the advisory level early on, which is our preferred situation, and talking to the owner and the concessionaire at the very beginning before procurement to help them figure out how they're going to build these requirements into the procurement process throughout, but also boots on the ground, doing cuff reviews, payroll certification, and making sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted throughout the project.
Are you leveraging technology for all of this, or are you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We
How are
couldn't
you leveraging it?
we couldn't do it without it, and especially with AI these days, it's getting a lot easier. So we have systems that assist us for the different components of compliance and small business program management in the infrastructure ecosystem. So one of our tools is called M3, the Management Maturity Model, and it's designed to assess businesses, assess their capabilities, and assess risk ultimately for the stakeholders involved in the project. So you can figure out, what does the business do? How capable are they to deliver the work? If they're not capable, what resources do they need to be able to get capable, and get a real view of the capacity based on the different NICS codes or different scopes of work for the project, and not just a view of the capacity, but also a strategy around how you can build capacity by providing the right technical assistance.
So, who's responsible? Who do you think the core responsible party is for um for the say the public return or the public benefit? Do you think it's on the public sector to be able to provide that, or is it on the private sector to deliver it?
That's a really
Provide
good
and
question.
deliver. That's so I'm trying to look at it from a is it who's the responsible party here?
That's a really good question, and ultimately, everyone is responsible for their piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
But you run into that a lot, especially if the contract's not set up the right way from the beginning, where the owner wants to look good, right, and they want to have that community buy-in to what they're doing, and they might have certain requirements that they want to satisfy in order to do that. But if it's not set up the right way, what we'll run into sometimes is, the people actually building the project might be like, you know what, this isn't in my contract.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have to do this. And so it's like if it's contractually obligated, then, it's the contractor's responsibility. But
All
if
right.
it's not, it starts to fall more on the owner to
Okay.
figure out how to still get it done.
So let me try and rephrase what you just said, and so to make sure I got it. So it is the owner's responsibility to make sure it's contractually obligated to the private sector to deliver it.
Yeah, it's the owner's responsibility to make sure it's the private sector's responsibility.
There you go.
Basically.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the only way to be able to do that is to embed it in the contract.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so do you see the biggest failure to the communities, the impacted communities, is the owner's failure to properly look after them? Is that the right words
I
there,
mean, I
or
wouldn't say
consider them,
look.
or hear them?
Well, see, it's not even a factor of looking after them or considering them, because you can consider them all you want. It's more of a factor of education and understanding
Mhm.
how to set up the contract for the project early on, and realizing that you really need to be specific about your language
Okay.
and what you're requiring,
Makes sense. Makes sense.
because
Makes
otherwise
sense.
you're going to leave gaps, and no one's going to, I mean, you can be as altruistic as you want, but no one's going to just do work for free.
So if we look at it from, so you're at P3C 2026.
Yeah.
How will you use this conference to be able to educate the owners on this, or make contact with the owners?
Well,
Because there's a lot of owners here that are looking at pretty big impactful projects.
yeah. So the good thing about a conference like this is there's a lot of owners that are looking at big, impactful projects, and a lot of them are still trying to figure out how to get it done. So we're early enough in the conversation where we can have that discussion about, okay, what is it that you want to achieve out of this?
Yes.
And let them know, you're really going to have to look at this closely. And I think you mentioned it in the workshop that you were doing, that, in terms of the advisory side, you always think about legal, you always think about financial, you always think about technical, but a lot of times what's overlooked is that kind of community outreach component,
Mm-hmm.
but it's key. And I think that really ties into the conversation, because you want that community benefit, community outreach conversation to be happening with the finance side,
Yes.
with the legal side, with the technical side, so that it's all built in from the beginning. And that's going to make it a lot easier throughout the life of the project to make sure you're getting what you need, because it's all stipulated in the language.
100%. 100%. And
Especially if you're looking at like a, 30, 50 year, operate and maintain type contract.
and that is the key. I think that's where a lot of owners forget, is that you're going to have to manage this
Yeah.
to hand over.
And it might not be you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So setting it up for success. So from your perspective, you are really a success enabler.
That's what I like to think. Yeah.
Yeah, and a
Yeah.
success enabler at the core beginning of this project, of these
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah. And a lot of our work is like pure consulting, boots on the ground type work. But the more that we can do the advisory work where we're in the conversation really early, the better. And I see a lot of states starting the P3 alternative delivery offices.
Yes.
And that's been very beneficial. They're like building out their bench of expertise in this space. So we've been winning a lot of work kind of getting in those conversations.
Excellent.
So I think that that's a good platform.
So this
Yeah.
conference actually allows you to also team up with these big advisory firms to be able to
Yeah. Yeah.
complement their bids or
Yep.
their advisory teams.
And we do that a lot, right? So it's something that they can add. It's a component they can add to their bid, just to kind of, cover the bases, because a lot of times like that's not necessarily their wheelhouse, but they understand the importance of it. And so that's kind of where we fit into the conversation.
Excellent. Amazing. Amazing. What is one thing that you would love to see change in the industry?
One thing I would love to see change in the industry, I would like to just see broader legislative approval across the country, even if it could be done at a more federal level. Because there's a lot of places where, things are evolving quickly. There's a lot of places where there's really not many P3s at all.
Yes.
And they might need them. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me is I would like to see.
You want to see it easier for the owners to execute.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it. What are some of the big trends here that you're hearing in the conference right now? What are some of the things, let me put it this way, what's got you excited about the conference right now?
So one of the big trends is actually AI in data. We were in a discussion yesterday about data interoperability across the country, just basically how different states and different municipalities have different databases, the same information structured differently, stored in a different place, and so it's very hard for it to work together. And I think you had a conversation during your workshop about how do we get the data about successful P3s in America. They have a lot of data in other countries, and it's more centralized, so there's a bit of a pool of information to work off of. So that's a really fascinating question for me, because it's like everyone has the same problem on different levels. They were talking about like emergency services and addresses in the conversation I was in. For us, we're looking at like prevailing wage and labor compliance systems across different states. Again, it's all federal, so they're doing the same thing, but the systems are all different. So our software
that's the
has to
problem.
connect differently.
So we got 48 countries.
Yeah, no,
48 jurisdictions,
basically
48 different sets of rules. But if you say you go to Europe, you've got a very centralized P3 process.
right.
It's an interesting one. What would I like to see? I would like to see a bigger federal mandate for P3s. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
More incentives coming from the federal level
Yeah.
to get the states to really ramp up infrastructure development.
Well, Build America Bureau is here, so you gotta have a
Very
conversation
transportation
with them.
focused. They do a great job with what they have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Oh, so you're thinking broader than transportation.
I would almost look at how it's I would like to call it something like the big push or something like that, where we do a massive push to upgrade all our infrastructure.
How far, how far do you think P3s go when you say infrastructure? Like where is the line? Because we're started with like roads and bridges.
I think it's
and we got
everything.
to
So
airports,
when you walk outside,
hospitals.
everywhere you look is infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's what makes this country great is our infrastructure.
It's everything, but not every project is a good P3 project, though.
No. I'm talking about infrastructure in general here. I'm not talking about the delivery model.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the infrastructure as everything that we touch, everything that we see.
Interesting.
So you get in a car, you're driving on infrastructure,
Right.
right? You go to an activity center, that is infrastructure. You go to the hospital, that is infrastructure.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good point.
You get into an emergency, there has to be infrastructure in place
Yeah.
to be able to render aid and assistance.
Yeah.
You go to an airport, it's infrastructure.
Okay. So, and I think that sometimes, and I'm like, am I
No,
is that crazy?
no.
Or-
So that's why we've got so much infrastructure in this country. We've got so much that needs to be built, but also so much that needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
And that's, I think we're in this conundrum where is it cheaper to rebuild or cheaper to like retool it or
Yeah.
revitalize it? So, and I think that's where we are with housing. I think that's a tough one with housing right now. So
I gotta tell you, you gave me some advice to watch Mad Men last time I saw you. You're like, if you want to understand the industry, watch Mad Men. It took me a while to understand the advice, but one day it clicked for me. It's like,
This
he's
is
right.
it.
He's right. I'm in my Roger Sterling era, just building business, making sales.
Build it. Just do it.
What else can you do?
But watch it a few times,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna tell you, it's going to click.
it did. It already did
I know.
click. Especially, it's just like, yeah, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like just being in the conversation and being in the right room and being in the right position and kind of just the way you carry yourself.
Yeah.
It's like nothing else really matters,
Always walk into a room where you're telling people, I belong here.
Right, right, exactly.
Right. So what conversations have got you really excited today?
So I'm actually more excited about conversations that are public facing this year. Typically, I kind of would involve myself more in the private side because we're a private business. But as I've become more attuned with the industry, I've been joining the public side conversations more to really understand what their needs are. So I might join a session, not necessarily for myself, but to hear the questions that are asked and the problems that are asked, especially for public entities that are new to the space. So I can better speak their language and better understand where they're coming from and how we could potentially help.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, good. Thank you, mate. Appreciate you.